You start something new feeling genuinely excited, focused, almost unstoppable. Like this time it's finally different. You plan everything out. You imagine the results. You can literally see yourself succeeding. But then, 3 or 4 days later, something shifts. The energy just isn't there anymore. You wake up, and suddenly the task feels heavier than it did before. And that's usually when the self-criticism begins. You tell yourself you just don't have enough discipline. Or maybe you think you just lack consistency like everyone else seems to have. But what if the problem isn't your character at all? What if your brain is quietly doing exactly what it was designed to do? When you start something new, your brain releases a noticeable spike of dopamine. Not because you've achieved anything yet, but because it's new and unpredictable. Your brain loves novelty. It reacts to what's different, not what's consistent. That first rush you feel, that's not discipline, that's chemistry. But here's the part nobody talks about. Dopamine adapts quickly. The more familiar something becomes, the less exciting your brain finds it. So what felt exciting on day one slowly starts feeling normal. And once something feels normal, your brain reduces the reward response. It's not trying to sabotage you. It's just conserving energy. From a survival perspective, efficiency matters more than excitement. So your dopamine baseline quietly shifts upward without you even noticing. And that's when the same task suddenly feels harder than it did before. Not because the task changed, but because your brain did. Now here's where modern life makes this even worse. Today, your brain gets dopamine without effort, without delay, without struggle. Scrolling for a few seconds gives you a quick hit of stimulation. Watching something new every few minutes keeps your brain constantly entertained. But your brain adapts to fast rewards even faster. So when something requires patience, it suddenly feels unbearable. Reading feels slow. Studying feels exhausting. Working feels frustrating. And that's when you assume you've lost motivation again. So what do you usually do next? You look for something new again. A new routine, a new system, a fresh start that feels exciting. And just like before, that first day feels powerful and full of energy. You feel focused again, clear, confident that this time it will last. But the pattern quietly repeats itself. Spike, adaptation, drop. It's the same cycle every time. And over time, your motivation window gets shorter. What used to last weeks now barely lasts a few days. Sometimes it doesn't even survive the first week. And that's when frustration really starts building up. You start questioning yourself more than the system. Maybe I'm just not disciplined enough. Maybe I just don't have what it takes. But the real issue isn't your character. It's your dopamine volatility. Your brain keeps chasing spikes instead of stability. Here's something most people misunderstand about motivation. Motivation was never designed to carry you long term. It's a spark, not a sustainable fuel source. The real progress happens after the spark fades. And that's exactly the moment most people quit. Because the work suddenly feels flat, slow, and boring. But boring is actually where rewiring begins. When you continue without a dopamine spike, your baseline slowly stabilizes. And stable dopamine creates stable effort. Stable effort builds real consistency. And consistency is what actually produces results. So instead of chasing excitement, reduce stimulation. Give your brain space to feel normal again. 7 days of lower stimulation can change everything. Less scrolling, less constant novelty, less instant reward. Then choose one simple task and commit to it daily. Not because it feels exciting, but because it matters. Even when it feels dull, even when it feels slow. That dull phase is where real discipline is built. Because discipline begins when dopamine excitement fades away. Think about how powerful you felt on day one. That feeling wasn't discipline. It was chemistry doing its thing. Real discipline starts the moment that chemistry disappears. And you choose to keep going anyway. That choice, right there, is control. Not dramatic motivation, not emotional hype, just steady control. And that's how you stop losing motivation so fast. Before you leave, think about the last goal you abandoned. Was it really lack of discipline or just dopamine adaptation? What if nothing was wrong with you at all? What if you were just expecting motivation to last forever? The truth is, motivation fades for everyone. The difference is who keeps going after it fades. So this week, don't chase excitement. Chase stability. That's where real progress lives.